This penny isn't worth 1 cent. It's worth $10 billion, at least for this video, okay? And it's going into the Treasury to be spent on an entire year of the Environmental Protection Agency. Here's how much went to unemployment and NASA. Last year, more than $6 trillion, or 627 pennies, were spent on different programs, but that required taking on more than $1 trillion in debt. Let's go to the board to look at federal spending, including that debt, and the ways the US could borrow fewer pennies. But first, where did all the pennies spent in 2022 come from? Here's how many came from revenue, things like individual income taxes and payroll taxes and corporate taxes.
Now let's stop there. This is how your federal government and local government, but federal government, let's just keep it federal. We're going to keep it as simple as possible from a C student's perspective. This is how your federal government sources its income. You are the income. As long as they keep you working, they will continue to make money. You are the commodity. You are the asset. The federal government's biggest asset is the people. And so they're incentivized to have you have children, keep you working, making sure you're a part of the working class. And when you see Biden says something like, I'm going to go and tax the rich, he's not really talking about him and his colleagues. He's talking about you. Why would he go and tax his friends? And he can tax you. You are the people that keep this whole machine running. So when you sit here and you complain about the fact that the federal government is not managing its resources effectively, you saying that they're not managing you effectively. So let's continue.
Congress is responsible for both these totals. They set the tax rate and they authorize the spending. But since these don't match up, the Treasury takes on debt to cover this difference.
So the Treasury is very much just like you. You make X amount of dollars, but you need to spend Y, which is more than X. So what do? You borrow. And they are no different. So what you see as far as the national debt continuing to go up and skyrocket is the result of mismanagement of funds. But you don't really care about that because the only thing you care about is the social program or student loans or anything like that. You don't care how it's going to affect your children. You don't care about how it impacts the country. You don't care about whether or not it's going to contribute to inflation. They're going to have to continue to print money. Then you're going to be complaining about it. And then you're going to be whining and you're going to say that we want our reparations and so on and so forth. When the value of what you have and you think that you can save your way to wealth is diminishing every single day. So Congress has a budget. That budget is mainly also based off of income taxes and corporate taxes. And then adding into that budget is debt. So when they borrow an extra $1.7 billion, you know where it's coming from. You. But it's actually way more than that. Let me explain.
They do that by selling securities, like say a 20-year bond. An investor gives the Treasury money, and the Treasury would pay interest on that every 6 months. They'll do that until the 20 years is over, and then the investor will get their money back.
20 years.
But those interest payments add up.
That is one of the expenses that people who worry about the debt and the deficit like to focus on the most, or they see as one of the biggest problems, is how much does the U.S. government pay on an annual basis just on paying its previous debts.
In 2022, it was a lot. 8.5% of all spending went to paying interest on that debt.
So when we have a conversation about interest, right, and rates, and then you relate it back to yourself, start to extrapolate that and then apply it to interest and rates and how much of that actually makes up the federal government's spending plan. When they put together these budgets and they arguing in Congress and they going back and forth and then they extend the date over 45 days and y'all can't understand why the government keeps shutting down and why they keep funding these programs and so on and so forth. And you look at the entire budget, right? And let's say that budget is $6-7 trillion. Seem like a crazy amount, right? Understand that 8.5% of that budget is going towards interest payments. The government is basically on borrowed time, and they're using your money and your resources in order to pay back interest payments on the money that Congress cannot get in line and that they are mismanaging on a regular basis. Ain't that crazy? That the federal government is making interest payments. And that is a large part of your budget. Your budget, because you are a part of this country. They are making interest payments. Over 8% is the interest on the debt that they own. Let's continue.
The concern is that so much money over time will start going just towards the debt that you may not be able to spend what you want to spend on other issues.
Here are the other places the U.S. spent money in 2022. This biggest section here is all Social Security.
Now let's break down Social Security, right? Because I see my dog Fatty is in the chat, right? Always looking for good content. Shout out to Fatty. Social Security, right? It's robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's a Ponzi scheme. Why is it so important for us to keep a working class? Well, it's not just so that we can have tax money. It's also where we're allocating that money. And Social Security is not fully funded, which is one of the reasons why it's a major talking point for whoever it is, especially your local Democrat or Biden himself. Biden himself, he'll specifically have a conversation with you about the federal government remaining open and how much of a large portion of the budget Social Security is. So, what is Social Security and how does it work? Well, you're supposed to be paying into it so that you'll have some availability of or another source of income as far as retirement and not be just totally dependent on the federal government in order for your survival. So you're paying for it from the time that you start working to the time that you retire. You will be paying for Social Security. But the problem with that is that the people that is living today, the Social Security payments that they're receiving is largely based off of the money that we are putting into it. So we're putting into it, hoping that somebody come after us and we pay an egregious amount into it, hoping that the people that come after us will then contribute to it to ensure that we have a soft life. And so the cycle continues. It's literally a house of cards. It's a house of cards. And look how much of the budget that takes up. A major portion of the budget of the national budget, your federal spending is based off of paying people to have the soft life. Ain't that crazy? Ain't it insane how the federal government works and how budgets work and how it's very much the same as what it is that you got going on in your own household? Don't worry about it. We'll get there.
These sections, Medicare and Medicaid. This third biggest section
Now think about that. This whole first three rows is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Healthcare coverage and Social Security benefits. Is to make sure that your baby mama that ain't got no healthcare coverage or your mama's mama that ain't got no healthcare coverage that then have to depend on the federal government and that Obamacare or whatever it is that they labeling it, we're spending all of our money making sure, or a huge portion of our money to make sure that your grandmommy and that chick that keep having kids out of wedlock is taken care of. I want you to see it. I want you to understand it. I want you to embrace it because I need you to know what is happening and why it's important for you to make different decisions and why it's also important for you to get involved, because the more that you know, the better decisions that you can make as a result of it. Let's go into the military.
Is the military. Then there's the Department of Education. Most of this is student loans, the cost of Biden's potential student loan forgiveness plan.
A huge portion of our budget is student loans, man. So when the Supreme Court made a decision and they said, no, we're not going to do student loan forgiveness, we're going to go ahead and make them pay it back. That's a huge portion of the budget. Well, what would happen if he had forgiven student loan payments? Nobody really asked that question. How does that affect the budget? How does that affect inflation? How does that affect the value of a dollar? What would then happen as a result of all of the rest of the people that's begging, including reparations, right? If you then forgive student loans, which shouldn't be forgiven, you then set a precedent that then forces you to have to acknowledge how it is that people are borrowing in the future. So either you solve for it or you have to continue to go down that path and kick the can down the road. But a huge portion, trillions of dollars of your federal government's budget is allocated specifically for, and they label it education, but the reality of it is the major portion of it is student loans.
There's tax credits like child credits, Veterans Affairs, and nutritional services like SNAP.
And nutritional services, listen, y'all, they put these names and these labels on it so it looks like it makes sense. Hey, listen, guys. A huge portion of the budget is nutritional services. No. You mean your baby mama that keeps selling her SNAP benefits for half off because it's cold outside and she got to go and get some crack and cocaine and be able to keep on selling the baby's milk and cheese budget. You know what I'm saying? Every time your homie, think about it, every time that your homie is over there whipping up because he can't wait for the first of the month so that they can go over into the Kroger's and Publix and Walmart or whatever and use them SNAP benefits. Now, let me give you the other finesse. Every time some of these business owners, especially the foreign ones, because I've been in the game and I understand exactly how they get a leg up on people that's doing it right, especially within the restaurant industry. Every time these business owners then say that we're a cash-only business and then they get SNAP benefits because they have a whole lot of kids, they generate a lot of revenue from their restaurants, and then they take that SNAP benefit and they go over into Sam's Club and Costco and they buy their materials in bulk and then they bring it back into the restaurant and they cook it up and then they sell it to you for a profit exponentially more than their competition. That is where you're budgeting and that's where your money and that's where your tax dollars is going. So instead of you sitting here having a conversation about closing a tax loophole, you're not closing the loopholes that then force other people to actually compete in capitalism the right way so they pay their fair share. You don't want to have a conversation about cutting off the faucet when it comes to SNAP benefits because you want to keep selling yours to half price at the corner store. You don't want to have conversations about making sure that we cut off nutritional services because you want to make sure that the people that's in your neighborhood can continue to sell you product and they can sell it at a better price than the competition because they're not necessarily paying for it. The federal government is, and you are paying for it. You're paying for their product that they then bring into their restaurant and sell to you because they're able to finesse the system and use their SNAP benefits to do it. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. It plays out just like that. Being a part of the restaurant industry was just not learning how to build a business. It's understanding how money works on all levels, including who your competition is. I'm telling you that these people walk into Costco, Sam's Club, and Walmart, buy their materials, bring it back to their business with their SNAP benefits, and then make sure that they cook up that same product and sell it to you at a cheaper price in order to put their competition out of business, and they selling it at 100% profit. That's a fact, though. But you don't see your federal government having no conversations about closing a loophole. You know why? Because it's your money. And it's easier to market it to you as nutritional services than to have a conversation with you about exactly how your money is being spent and how it's frivolously being managed. Oh, Anton giving too much sauce. That's why we got the greatest morning show on the face of the earth. Bar none. Nobody can talk to you the way that I talk to you because they ain't lived it. They don't understand it. They can't talk to you the way that I talk to you because they not a representation of it. They ain't never built nothing. They ain't never competed in their life, so they don't know that this man over there is taking in steroids. They don't know what a steroid user is, so they go over there getting beat the hell up. Come on, run it back. I'm not talking about steroids. I'm using it as a metaphor to explain to you how capitalism really works and what the real loopholes are that you need to close in order to ensure that we have a robust economy. But see, this is why I could never run for office. This is why I could never be a politician because I'm too honest. I will tell you the truth. I will tell you the finesse. I will give you the game. I will help you to understand why it's important for these people to continue to have cash businesses. So then they'll finesse you, right? So let me tell you how they finesse you. They say, well, you know what? It's not that we actually trying to close the loophole. What we're going to do is move over into an entirely electronic cashless system. Well, why would they want to do that? Because then they can start to monitor you. That's why they're hiring so many IRS agents in order to go after you, right? But that's not going to hurt us. That's going to hurt you because all of your cash apps and all of the things that you then don't account for, you have to now account for. And so people are starting to push back and say, hey, we want to stay in a cash-based system instead of a cashless system, because it would then finesse us and it would mess us up as to what it is that we can generate or what it is that we're getting from a SNAP benefit or a nutritional perspective. They're nutritional services that then allows them or actually put you on equal footing as a business holder, and you can't understand what the finesse is. You think that they getting tax benefits and that the tax system is working a little bit differently from them as far as how it is that they can sell or whether or not they getting loans. Ain't got nothing to do with the loans. It got something to do with how it is that they finessing and managing their money in the system that is then built to benefit them, because you don't really understand how it is that they're leveraging this same benefit, this same benefit within this program, and you selling yours for half price and they're leveraging theirs in order to continue to make more money from it. Think about that for a second. You get SNAP benefits, they get SNAP benefits. They get a whole lot of SNAP benefits because they all live together. You get a whole lot of SNAP benefits because you keep having children out of wedlock, right? You take your SNAP benefits and you think you coming up as a benefit to go out and sell it because you getting it for free anyway. So you're going to take half the money, use a little bit in order to feed your kids. They can't focus in school because they hungry and shit. And then you sell half of it, take the money, go and smoke some weed, and then go and get a BBL over there in Miami, right? They take the money and they use it the same way, right? But except for instead of them selling half of it, they actually take the money, reinvest it back into themselves. It's all a finesse, but this is the difference. They take the money and they double it. They basically use it to go and buy more work. They step on the work, right? They put the Arm & Hammer, the baking soda inside of it. They put it on the pot, and then they sell it to you and make more money as a result of it. So you selling yours for half price. They actually getting the markup on theirs. See students' perspective. Don't worry about it, bro. You'll catch it. Rewatch it. Maybe you'll understand it. They leveraging it to make more money from it. You selling yours at a discount, and they marking theirs up. They stepping on it. Blue magic. I stand by it. They don't know me any more than they know the chairman of General Mills. I guarantee it. I get it straight from the supplier so I can sell it to you for cheaper the price and twice the potency. And you don't think that the federal government know what's going on. The thing that you need to be asking yourself is, why are they continuing to let it happen? And why is it important for you to understand it? Well, number one, a lot of the people, I shouldn't even be saying this. Okay. Let me say it to you like this. Most politicians, in my opinion, are not interested in actually doing the thing that's right for the people that they serve. They're interested in marketing themselves to you more effectively. So let me give you a little bit of insight, and then we're going to move over into the next section, right? A lot of the people that are leveraging these benefits and they don't even or can't even vote. So why would they speak to them instead of speaking to you, the thing that they can market to you the best, or the thing that they think is going to be the most meaningful to you, that sound good to your ears, versus the people that they should be holding accountable? Because those people have no vested interest in whether or not they stay in office or not.